Hello and welcome to Gloria's Gab Live. No, I do not look like Gloria. I'm Fara Sax. I'm in the hot seat sitting in for Gloria Burns today. I would like to thank her sponsors for this program today, PBS, and also for Julian Chang Boutique, who is a clothing sponsor as well. My guest today, and I am so proud and so happy that we got to meet, is Amanda Altman. She is the CEO of Christy House, which is a nonprofit organization which has served our community since 1995. That's 29 glorious years. Christy House has dedicated itself to treating and preventing child abuse, sexual abuse of trafficking, and other childhood trauma, not only serving the children, but the families of those affected. Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Farah. I'm really excited to be here.
So how do you go from super lawyer with muscle and rising star to community servant with the Christy House? And this adventure began 5 years ago.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for asking that question. I love to tell my story.
Yeah, we all like to talk about ourselves.
Right, exactly. But I graduated from law school in 2003, so I had been practicing law for about 17 years, doing nothing related to anything I'm doing now, really. But I was doing a lot of toxic tort litigation and product liability litigation. I had spent some time in the U.S. Attorney's Office down here, which is ultimately what brought me to Miami in the first place.
You're from St. Louis?
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and came down here in 2008 on a total whim to take a job at the U.S. Attorney's Office down here. But I had also kind of made a pact with myself that if I was going to try a new place, I had to really give it a shot. And so I had to get involved with the community. And I lived up to my word and got really involved in a lot of different organizations down here, nonprofits, did a little bit of volunteering at Christy House at one point through the Junior League of Miami, which is where I was really involved. Ultimately worked my way up to being a president of the Junior League of Miami.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
no
you.
easy feat, dealing with a lot of women.
A lot of women, all volunteers. So I figure if you could do that, you could do just about anything. And when I wasn't feeling as passionate anymore about my law practice, I thought, well, maybe I could try something different. So with the support of my wonderful husband, I decided to make a really big career change. And it just so happened that in 2019, the then CEO of Christy House was ready to retire. And so I threw my name into the hat. And well, here we are 5 years later.
And what I find very interesting, because 2020 happened, and so there was a lot of change that went on, of shutting down, closing down, services not provided. We'll get into that. But what was that like, having to take over? Right, you go from cushy to like more cushy, right? It was really cushy and easy, wasn't it?
It was one of the most challenging times, I think, of my life and certainly of my career, because here I was only about 9 months into the job at Christy House as the CEO. My first time really, serving in a role of that capacity, and here a global pandemic strikes, and there's no playbook for that. I kept joking with our board chair at the time that, this was not anywhere in my contract, but we figured it out. I'm actually incredibly proud, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it later, but incredibly proud of the way the organization was able to function. We were able to continue serving our community in a great way during that time.
It's so funny. We start out our lives going one track.
Yeah.
You thought, I'm going to be an attorney, a superstar attorney, and then you go into the nonprofit world and do a do-gooder for our community.
Well, thank you. I mean, I hope I'm doing good for our community, but I love what I'm doing. I'm so passionate. I think, I remember interviewing once at a law firm and talking to the head partner, and him, talking to me about passion and really being passionate about what you do in life. And I think when I was starting to realize I wasn't as passionate anymore about practicing law, and I needed to find something else, wow, all I can say is I've definitely found it, because I'm incredibly passionate about Christy House, about the work that we do, about the children and families we serve, and about the team we have working for us there. So
when I was preparing for our time together, I didn't realize Christy was really a person. Yes. And is a person, a living, breathing, thriving woman. And this is what it's based on, this whole premise. And I would love to tell her story. And actually, we have that. And I would like to show it right now. Her story.
Please.
Here's Kristi in her own words.
Hi, everyone. I am delighted to be joining you today. I am Christy. Yes, the Christy that this amazing organization was named after. Most of you might be aware of my story, but I wanted to share it with you myself. I was found playing in a yard after Hurricane Andrew in 1992. I was 9 years old and I was 8 months pregnant. I had been sexually abused by my stepfather, who I was supposed to trust. This abuse went on for years. An anonymous report was made, which brought me the attention of authorities so I can get the help and attention that I needed. Back then, I was too young and afraid to even ask for help. Back then, there wasn't a Christy house to help children like me heal from this type of abuse. This was well before there was wrapped around advocacy and mental health service in place. I gave birth at the age of 10. My child, Robert Velasquez, was put up for adoption. I was placed in and out of foster homes, all while struggling with the trauma of abuse. This was a lot for someone as young and traumatizing as I was. There was no organization like Christy House and the team of agencies that are now dedicated in helping children like me. My journey towards healing began 20 years later with an exceptional, caring therapist, Dr. Loeb, and the multidisciplinary service at Christy House. It took me a long time to feel brave enough and powerful enough to tell my story in front of an audience. I have worked through my trauma, which has been very difficult but very healing, and I stand in front of you now as a strong and self-assuring woman who will no longer let anyone have power over me. Being traumatized as a young child can take a lot away from you, but it can also unleash unbelievable strength. As a young girl, I had never dreamed of having an entire organization named after me. I also never dreamed of being a survivor. I see now that my survival has transformed into something amazing that brings healing to countless children every single day.
And we're back live. Wow.
Gets me every time.
How do you process that? To be an effective human being and being a leader for the Christy House. How do you reckon with that?
It's that's a tough balance, to be honest. I'm leading a business. Christy House is a business. It's a nonprofit that does great work, but at the same time, it's a business. And but we hear stories like Christy's, unfortunately, every day. And so obviously, there's just an incredible human aspect to it. And I love it when we get to hear Christy tell the story in her own words, because I tell it, but I don't think I do it justice. Hearing it from her is, it's incredible. It's hard to imagine that something like that could happen to a child. And I guess I thank God every day that I can't imagine it, but I can't fathom how somebody could do that to an innocent child.
So it propels you.
Absolutely.
And it continues in the mission. And let's talk about the mission for Christy House.
So as Christy said, Christy House was founded in 1995 as a result of her case, because the issue was that there weren't a lot of services available to her at the time, and the services that were available were not coordinated. You had agencies operating in silos. So Christy House was founded by a group of community leaders and activists to initially to be the coordinating body for all of these different agencies that were working to fight against child sexual abuse. And to this day, almost 30 years later, every single Friday, we still bring together all of those agencies. So it's Christy House, it's the State Attorney's Child Sex Battery Unit, the Guardian Ad Litem Program, the Child Protection Team, the Department of Children and Families, and multiple law enforcement agencies. And every Friday, they come together at Christy House to talk about the cases that have come in so that we can make sure that no child falls through the cracks, and so that we can make sure that every child and family is getting all of the services they need. But in addition to that, Christy House also provides all of the mental health services, the case coordination, and prevention education that these kids need and that these families need to heal.
And it's crazy because when I was doing my research, I said, is Christy House like a real house in the hood, or is this like just a figure of speech? So let's show the picture of Christy. It's beautiful.
Yes, I love Christy House. It makes me smile all the time to see that picture. So it does look like a real house, right? It is in the middle of the health district. It is across the street from the state attorney's office, across from Sylvester Cancer Center, down the street from Jackson. And people drive by it all the time. It's right as you get off of 836 on Northwest 12th Avenue. And people pass by it all the time without really noticing it. And it's such a beautiful building. Now, nobody lives there. We're not a residential facility.
That was my next question.
Yeah, our kids are all under 18. And so either they're with their families or a family member or another caregiver, or they're in the custody of the Department of Children and Families. So we're not a residential facility. We're a place that they come to during the day to get wraparound services.
What I found when I was researching, 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys have been sexually abused before their 18th birthday. 42 million adult survivors of sexual abuse in the United States. This trafficking is a $150 billion industry. That's a lot of zeros. It's a lot of innocent souls. Florida ranks the 3rd nationwide, and Miami-Dade ranks 1st in Florida for human trafficking. What is up with the system? Why is it broken? Why is it happening right here? We could say it was over there, but it's here. Why is it so prevalent in our community?
Yeah, the statistics are staggering. I use them a lot because I think it helps people to sort of understand and grasp the nature and gravity of the situation and the problem. And your point is a great one, Farah. I think people always think, particularly about human trafficking, that it's happening elsewhere. But that's not the case. It is very prevalent here. One reason that we see it so often in Miami-Dade County is because we're a fun place. We're a place where everybody wants to go and have a good time. And there's a lot of money here. And so you come here and you feel like you can do whatever you want down here. We also have a lot of easy access, right? We have multiple ports. We have multiple airports that are international. And so it's kind of easy to get in and out of here.
Does it happen during these big events, let's say? I don't want to name them out, but is it during these big events when everybody's having a really good time that this trafficking is happening?
So certainly it does happen during that time, but it's happening every day. It's happening here every single day. And it isn't just, people think it's a problem amongst immigrants, but that's not true. Most of the girls and children we treat at Christy House are kids who were born here. They're kids that are right in our backyard. And so
Are these from familia? Are they probably part of their family, or is it strangers, or is it the neighbor? Is it a brother, uncle?
So about 90% of cases that we see are a close and trusted family friend, whether it's a family member or it's just a trusted family friend.
Trusted.
Yeah, it's somebody you trusted to come into your life and to be in your child's life.
I know this is off, but if someone is watching right now that they are victims of this, what can they do to get out of this cycle, to protect themselves? I know I don't want to, I know we're off script at this point, but I think it's really important. What should they do?
I think absolutely call Christy House. Call Christy House, 305-547-6800. I think it's at the bottom of the screen there, but call us because we can help. And it doesn't matter if you're a child or you're an adult, call us and we will make sure you get to the right place. If you're a parent or a school professional or anybody, any adult who knows of a child or has a child that's being abused, call the Department of Children and Families or call Christy House and we'll help you call it into the Department of Children and Families.
And it's an issue of shame.
It can be, certainly. It's guilt. A lot of times parents feel guilt. They don't know that, they let this happen to their child. It's shame. It's shame for the child. It's shame for the parents or the caregivers. Sometimes, unfortunately, the parents don't believe the children that something's happening to them. I find that almost without fail, if a child discloses that something's happening to them, it really is. And so we need to believe the children. But there are so many reasons that people don't come forward. And all I can say is there are people who can help you and want to help you. So,
and how do you help? Let's talk about the programs that you've incorporated into this incredible organization of what you're doing.
So
and by the way, you had your gala.
We did. Yes, we recently had it.
2024 open, ready for action, and you raised
$1.3 million.
$1.3 million.
Yeah, it's incredible and critical to our mission and supporting our mission. But what we do, the services that we provide in-house at Christy House are, like I said, mental health therapy. So we have about 20 full-time mental health therapists on staff, in addition to some part-time therapists. They are the best trained clinicians in the area, probably in the state of Florida. They
sweet. We're looking at a picture of they're working together.
Yeah. So those are, some of our kids as they're waiting. We have our whole place is very child friendly. That's the goal of Christy House. One of the goals is to be very welcoming and child friendly and to provide as many services in-house as possible.
Can we jump to the lobby? I want to show this really welcoming
I love that. I love the lobby. And actually, it's interesting. When you walk into Christy House, on the right-hand side, we have the State Attorney's Child Sex Battery Unit. There you go. That's our beautiful lobby that's so welcoming, I think. Colorful, and I love that. The sky.
The dome. It looks like, I feel like I'm at the Bellagio.
I know.
Something. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's very lovely.
Welcoming colors, warm. And so in this facility, you have...
On the right-hand side is our State Attorney's Child Sex Battery Unit. They're one of our multidisciplinary team partners, and it's really critical to have them close by. They do the forensic interviews of the children, so when a child has disclosed something, they're the ones that really, you tell the story to them first, and hopefully it's really the only time the child has to tell their story, because we want to limit re-traumatization and re-victimization. Then on the left-hand side, you have Christy House, which is where we provide our therapy services, like I said, from the best trained clinicians, and they provide only the best evidence-based therapeutic modalities available. We also train not only our clinicians, but clinicians in the community on all of those evidence-based modalities. We also have case coordinators. So they are assigned to the cases, and they don't just work with the children, they also work with the families, which our therapists do as well, because we know it's critical not only to help the families through this process, but to make sure that families have everything that they need. If a child, we can give all the therapy in the world to a child, but if they're going back to an unstable or an insecure environment, that's not really helping them. So we want to make sure those families are in a stable place. If they need a job, that's what our case coordinators do. They help the parents find a job.
Is this part of the court prep? We're live now again.
Court prep is another thing that we do. So, it's really critical sometimes that the children be able to testify in court. And so that's where, we work really closely with the state attorney's office, but it's also where our therapists and advocates come in, because they can really help get the child ready. We have a whole handbook on court prep. Sometimes our advocates will walk the children over to the courtroom and get them acclimated before they're going to have to testify. That's a critical piece. It also can be really therapeutic and healing for the child if they get to testify in court or get to give a victim impact statement or something.
So you're embracing the whole family at this point.
We are.
And you how many children and families walk through your door annually?
We see about 2,000 a year.
Wow. And how long is treatment?
So kids are with us for about...
You do psychiatric evaluations, and then you do mental health.
We do. So we start with a mental health evaluation to see what therapist the child will be appropriate for and what therapeutic modality the child needs or that the family needs. And then we work with the child through that. So on average, I'd say about 6 months for the therapy piece. But our advocates, our case coordinators, are really with the child and family through the life of their case. So if they have a case pending in court, for example, that can take a while. So our advocates stay with the child until that case is over, until whatever that family needs or that child needs kind of comes to an end or a closure.
Another component I see is transportation.
Yes. So we know that geography is a great barrier to kids and families getting services. And we know how spread out Miami-Dade County is.
So you're serving Miami-Dade County.
We serve all of Miami-Dade County. Mm-hmm. And so we have 4 transportation vans. We have transportation coordinators who go and pick up the kids, pick up the families, and bring them to Christy House. We also have multiple locations throughout Miami-Dade County to try to make our services more accessible. Our main location, as I said, is in the Health District on Northwest 12th Avenue. But we also have a small office in Homestead, a small office in Palmetto Bay, an office in Miami Gardens, and then 2 locations in Little Haiti where we run our human trafficking center, which is a drop-in center. Right now it's only for girls, although we hope to be serving boys soon as well. But right now it's for girls who are survivors of human trafficking or who are at a very high risk for being trafficked. And they come Monday through Friday all day long, mostly after school, although in the summer it's really all day long. And they also get wraparound services there. So individual therapy, group life skills classes. We have an education team there, a career coach on staff. Every weeknight at 5 o'clock, they have a family style dinner together. It's a really great program and an incredible place.
And my favorite is food. So tell me about the pantry.
Yes.
We have a shot of the pantry as well.
Yeah, so we keep a food pantry. Actually, we keep a kind of a pantry, not just with food, but with essential needs for our families, because that can be really critical. We know food insecurity is a big issue. Sometimes a child comes in and they're hungry. A therapy session isn't going to be successful if the child's hungry. So we make sure they have something to eat. Very often we're packing up groceries to send home with our families. We also keep lots of toys on the shelves there.
Does the dog come along with?
The dog comes very frequently. So we have, that's not our typical Christy House dog. We have a little dog. He's a Frenchie. His name is Mr.
Kristi.
Blue. Mr. Blue. And he's everybody's favorite. So Mr. Blue's even sat in on a few therapy sessions before.
That's so cute.
Dogs are welcome.
Let's talk about operating costs. Let's talk about acquiring funding. I know you had your gala, which we talked about. And so how does this happen? Your community.
Yeah. So it costs us about $9 million a year just to operate at the level we are right now. And about 50 to 60% of that is government funded. So particularly because of the work we do in human trafficking, we get quite a bit of government funding, federal government funding rather. But we also get a little bit from the state, some from our county, of course. The rest of it, the remaining 40 to 50%, we are raising through our incredible community. So
that's where the audience comes into play here.
Yeah,
and it's
for sure.
christyhouse.org, or they can call you at, I'll let you do the second part of this,
305-547-6800.
And the time that we have left, what has been the most significant or story that has really changed you? And like when you had that light bulb moment, this is why I'm doing this for the last 5 years as my mission.
Yeah, there have been a couple actually. One of the ones, the human trafficking population that we work with is, I find it to be a really challenging group. It's a lot of complex trauma and it's just very hard. Recently, we had a girl graduate from college and that's incredible. We helped her, not only recover from the trauma, but then go on to find success in life. And she's graduated. She's going to go on. She got her associate's degree. She's going on to get her bachelor's degree. To me, that's just everything. Here's this woman who's probably at one point thought there wasn't a lot of hope for getting out of that life. And now look at her. We get notes a lot from our past clients telling us about what they're doing now. And to me, that's just the greatest. I mean, that you're helping people.
super lawyer to super junior league leader president to Christy House. You've had quite an illustrious beginning. And I want to, the world is a better place because of you, Amanda Altman.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I always love talking about Christy House and the work that we do there. And I hope our community knows that not only are we here for you to donate to, but we're here if you need us for services. I hope you don't, but if you do, please call us.
And thank you. And thank you for being my guest today on Gloria's Gab Live. I'm Fara Sax. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, especially now. Have a great day.